Welcome to the system. You may not realize it, but you now see systems differently. You don't judge an application solely by its interface. You've started to think about the connections behind it, the data flow, and the invisible architecture. Today, we'll dive deeper to the point where software ends and hardware begins. You think a device you buy belongs to you. Your phone, your computer, your smartwatch, or a small development board, but most of the time you don't get to decide what you can do with that device. The operating system determined by the manufacturer, proprietary components, locked bootloaders, restricted permissions, and services you can't change. The hardware is yours, but you don't always have control over it. That's why freedom doesn't start with buying a device. It starts with understanding it. What does the operating system manage? What resources does the kernel access? Which services are running in the background? What data does the device send out? And which restrictions are truly for security? Which ones exist solely to keep control in the manufacturer's hands? A system architect doesn't just use the hardware. They read its layers. They recognize its limits. And when necessary, they reconfigure it for a different purpose. That's why Linux isn't just an operating system. The world of open source hardware and software isn't just made up of free tools either. These are the right to examine how the system works, the right to modify it, the right to rebuild it according to your own needs. But true control isn't just about removing limits. It's also about taking responsibility for every limit you remove. You can boot a device with root access. You can install a custom kernel. You can run your own services. But security, updates, and the system's stability are now your responsibility. Freedom and responsibility are two layers of the same architecture. One cannot exist without the other. That's why the goal isn't to unlock every lock. It's to understand why each lock exists. True independence isn't blindly rejecting the limitations imposed by the manufacturer. It is the ability to consciously define your own limits. In the next session, we'll combine all the pieces you've seen so far into a single system, and for the first time, you'll decide whether to simply listen to these sessions or go beyond that. System status: active, protocol, 011, complete, hardware control, unlocked, status, active,